So we have updated this component to populate these buttons from the database. And now we have all associated primary keys for each data point that we need to push into the database while adding a new property. So in this video, we will add a new property on clicking of this save button that will be displayed here on the list page. We are going to use the HTTP post method to add properties. We already have seen how to use the post method while working on the register user component, but that was a small component with a very few fields. But here we have too many fields, and definitely it would not be that easy. And we will face some problems while working on this. I will show you how to debug the errors during the process and work on solving those issues. It will definitely make this video a little longer, but it's worth it. It will help you to become a better programmer, because having such issues are very common during development. And if you don't know how to debug those errors, you would never be able to become a good developers and will never be able to work independently. So it's worth watching this video from start to end. Let's go ahead and implement this functionality next. So first of all, we will have to work on WebAPI to add the new API endpoint to save new property. Let's go to the property repository, and here we already have a method to add property, but this is not yet implemented. We are just throwing exception here. So in place of this, we need to use data context dot properties dot add and pass the property here as a parameter that we will receive from our controller. Very simple. And hope up to this point you would already be aware that we do not directly use domain entities in controller to pass the information into the repository, and we will add a data transfer object to post a new property. We already have other DTO to display the data on the list page and detail page. Let's add a new DTO to save the new property. Name it property DTO. Let's copy the properties from the property model and paste it here in property DTO. We will remove all unnecessary properties from here that we do not need to get from our client while adding a new property. We need only a property type ID here, so remove this property type. Similarly, remove this furnishing type and city as well. Add the required reference for this date time by pressing the control dot and select system. Also, for the time being, remove this photo collection as well, and posted on and posted by are not needed here because we are not going to get it from the client. Instead, we will set the value of these property in our controller. Remove this user as well from here. So now we have only those properties that are to be submitted from our Angular application. And it is always a best practice to start small. So first of all, we are not going to try saving all the properties in one go in this web API. Instead, we will just post a few mandatory fields. We can just pick only the fields that are required to populate this property card. This property card has all the mandatory fields. So up to ready to move fields, we have all the basic fields that are needed on the list page. And let's comment out all other fields from this DTO. Let's uncomment this one because this possession date field is required on the list page. Next, as usual, as per our architecture, we need to add the mapping in Automapper profiles. And we need to map property to property DTO. And finally, we will have to add the public method in our property controller to expose the same as API endpoint. Let's copy this last one and make the required changes to save a little bit of time. But I have seen some mistakes here. This comment is not as per the actual endpoint. It should be details/1. Here also it is wrong. Let me correct this one as well first. So copy this and paste it here. Our endpoint should be like property/add. We do not need any ID, and it would be the post method. For the time being, let's keep it anonymous, but in the next video, we will make changes here to allow access to this method only to the authorized user. Let's change the name of this method to add property, and it should accept the object of type property DTO. Let's remove all of this code and let me write it from scratch. Let's take a variable property, and using Automapper, we will map the property DTO to object of property that we need to pass in our repository method. And we will set the properties posted by and last updated by here in the controller. For the time being, let's just set the hard-coded value here. Make sure this user ID should exist in your database. Otherwise, you will not be able to save the property in the database as it will throw an error. Next, we need to call the add property method in our repository. And of course, as per our architecture, we can access that method using a unit of work. Select the property repository and call the add property method. Pass the property object that our Automapper has populated from the property DTO. And finally, call the save async method on the unit of work to commit the changes in the database. And on successful commit, we should return status code 201. That means our resources are created on the server. So all done for the web API. Let's test the newly added endpoint in Postman. Add a new request for add property. Our endpoint should be a property/add. HTTP verb should be post. And in the body tab, we need to post the required data in JSON format. I already have typed the required JSON post data. Let me paste the same here. This posted by is not needed. Make sure at your end you have used the correct ID of these properties as per your data, because these can be different at your end. So make sure you have verified the same by querying these different master tables and use the existing ID only. Otherwise, you will get foreign key violation error. So all looks correct. Let's press the send button. Got an error of missing type map configuration. Looks like I have done something wrong in the Automapper profile. Yup, here I have made this silly mistake. I should have mapped property to property DTO. Save it and retry. Perfect. Our new record has been created. And if we refresh the page, yup, we got this new property on our list page. So our API is working fine up to this point in our test. Let's go to our Angular app and make the required changes to post the data from Frontend. So first of all, we need to make sure we have all the required properties in the property model. We should have all of those fields that we have taken in the property DTO and also posted here in the Postman request. I can see we do not have ID of any of these fields as it was not needed up to this point. Let's add the same. And go to the add property component from where we are submitting the data of property. Here we have onSubmit method where we are calling this add property method in housing service. And we are passing a property as parameter. We are setting all the properties of this object using this map property method. So go to this method. It is just below this onSubmit method. Here we are mapping all the properties that we are receiving from our add property form. As you would be aware, we already have updated our HTML template to get the ID in all of these three fields. We can use the ID field that we have just added in our property model here in place. Next, we need to call our new API endpoint in the add property method of housing service. At present, we are storing all of this information in local storage. But now we have an API endpoint available. We can call the same here using http://post and pass the endpoint URL here as a parameter. And the second parameter of the post method is the body content that we can submit to the endpoint. And we need to submit the property data that we are receiving from our component here. Don't forget to add the slash here. All done. Let's try to add new property. Let me quickly fill up this form. So all the required information has been filled up in this form. Make sure you clear all the history in the developer tool from the network tab and console tab before pressing the save button. It will help you to diagnose the issue faster if any problem occurs at this point. It says, congrats, your property listed successfully on the website. But where is our new property? Neither it is on the rent tab and nor it is on the buy tab. And if we look at the network tab of our developer tool, there is no HTTP request sent on our web API. And the reason is here in our add property component, we have called the add property method in housing service. But now as it is an observable, we need to call the subscribe method here. Otherwise our HTTP server request will not be called. I am showing all of these issues because these are very common problems new developer face and they have no clue what to do next. I usually get a lot of such queries from new developer. So I thought about knowingly create such problems so that you should be aware of these issues and should be able to resolve them at your end quickly. Another mistake usually a new developer makes is that they do not put the code that is to be executed after this HTTP call inside the subscribe method. For example, if we do not put this code inside the subscribe method, sometimes this code will get executed prior to completion of this HTTP call, and sometimes it doesn't. So it will create a weird issue that sometimes you will get new property appear on the list page when somehow this API call is executed prior to this code, and sometimes it will not display the newly added property on the list page. We should always remember these HTTP calls are asynchronous call and it does not block the execution of subsequent code. Whatever the code that we want to execute on completion of HTTP call, we should put that code inside the subscribe callback method like this. Cut this code and paste it here inside this function because we want to display this success message only in case HTTP call is successful and we want our user to redirect to the list page after that only. Let's try one more time filling up only the mandatory fields because that is what we would like to save in the database at the moment. Clear the network history and console. We got this error pop-up, but that is blank. We will fix it later. Let's look at the request in the network tab. So we are getting this bad request. And to diagnose the issue, we have to look at the response of the API. Here we are getting this error for ready to move field, could not convert string to boolean. And that conversion error is appearing because our API is accepting a Boolean type of value for this field, but our Angular application is passing it as a string. So we need to go to the property model and change the type here to Boolean. Also, we have to change the same in iPropertyBase because this class is implementing iPropertyBase. As we have changed it to Boolean, we will also have to change the same in HTML template of add property component here. So we have to use true false here in place of 1 and 0. Here for radio button value as well, we have to change it. Let's try one more time to add a new property. Yup, new property added successfully. And if you look at the network tab, API has returned 201 created status. At the bottom of this window, we can see the request payload that is being sent to the API. So our new property has been added, but I know there is still one problem that is to be fixed. Let me show you the problem. Let's add one more property. Kindly note it down. We have selected 1st July 2021 as possession date. But when property is saved, it displays 30th June 2021, which means one day back. And if we look at the request payload that is being submitted to the server, it is appearing in UTC time format. The reason is when JavaScript dates are sent via the Angular HTTP client, that data is converted to JSON string using the JSON.stringify method. This converts all dates into 0 UTC time zone format. But we do not want our dates to be converted to the UTC format. There are many solutions to solve this problem, but the easiest one that I found is before sending the JSON data to the server via the HTTP request, we can convert the date to a simple string like MMDDYY format. Working with JavaScript dates can be tricky and it can behave differently in different browsers. So the best solution is we can use date pipe. We already have seen how to use the same at HTML template level, but let's see how to use the same at component level as well. We can use date pipe here to convert it into the MMDDYY format, but date pipe will return the converted date into string. So this property should be a type of string, and we need to change the type here in the model at both places, interface and property class, before using the date pipe. Next, we need to add the date pipe in the providers array of app.module file because this is just a kind of service that we can inject in our component. Make sure a date pipe is imported here at the top. Now we can use the method of this date pipe in our add property component. And to inject any service in our component, we need to add a private variable in the constructor of that component class. Press Ctrl dot to import the required library. Now we can use date pipe dot transform to convert the date into month, date, year format. Let's move it to the next line to make it more readable and use the date format as the second parameter of this method as mm/dd/yyyy. Save it. But we are getting a compile time in the property detail component on line number 32. That string is not assignable to the parameter of type date. So go to the property detail component line number 32 and go to this method definition, and here in place of date let's use string type. Yup, it's compiled successfully this time. Let's try to add a new property. And again, choosing 1st July. Yup, this time property is added with the correct possession date. And if we look at the request payload, our date is not converted to the UTC time zone. So we have successfully saved the basic fields that are needed to list a new property in our application. We have also seen how to debug the various issues and fix the same. I would like you to take this as an exercise to save other fields into the database. Would like to hear the issues that you have faced while saving other fields and what is the solution you have incorporated to solve that problem. I would be happy to see your code if you can provide me the GitHub link to your code. Doing these exercises are really important for you if you want to become a production ready developer. So please put some efforts on these exercises so that you can become a better programmer. So that's all for this video. And in the next video, I will show you how I saved the remaining fields in the database. In addition to that, we will make this add property feature accessible only to the authorized user. Means if the user is logged in, then only he or she should be able to add a new property. We will also learn how to fetch the user ID from the JWT token that will be generated on the successful login. And we will use that extracted user ID to store in the database here in our controller. Also, we will fix this issue that why our error interceptor did not display the proper error here when some error occurred at the API level. So see you in the next video, and don't forget to comment if you like this video. Also let me know if you think any improvements are needed in videos. So let's meet in the next video. Bye bye. Take care.